So welcome to satsang.
Thank you.
And namaste.
Namaste.
Satsang is a Sanskrit word from ancient India. And great yogis have been holding satsangs for thousands of years. And usually it's a yogi somewhere in the Himalayas, and you have to find him or her, often like in a cave. And you go and you sit around the great yogi and just bask in their vibration and feel the presence and the energy. They don't have to say anything. But it's like their energy is like salt in the air. And you just breathe it in, you take it in through your pores into your consciousness, and you transform. It's a very magical, mystical process in which you can experience higher states of consciousness. And what does that really mean? Higher states of consciousness, like higher, what? You could explain that esoterically, I guess. And that would mean that you have 7 chakras, 7 energies, 7 major ones that are along the spine. They're generally invisible, although some people can see chakras. And each one represents a stage in consciousness. The first one being the root, and the root is your connection to earth. So if you can clear out that root chakra at the very, very bottom of the spine, you start to feel connected to earth, one with earth, part of earth. It's a beautiful thing. We need that, because we're just floating in the heavens. We can't function on earth. This is a place where you have to do things. You can't just, sit and do nothing. You have to do things. That's why you come down under earth. So if you can clear that root chakra, you'll be way more effective with whatever duties you have to perform on earth. So some people say, well, spirituality is about just ascending into the heavens and feeling so blissful and all, like that. But it's also about grounding yourself onto the planet that you're on here and participating instead of just so-called running away from it or ascending beyond it. And that's the root chakra. Very important to clear that energy center. Plus, when you clear the root, which is down here, when you clear that center, it actually starts to allow your kundalini, or I would call it your divine spark, to rise up the spine. It's almost like you opened up a door. And now this energy, which is usually with most humans sleeping at the bottom of the spine, they call it like a sleeping snake, and it kind of winds up the spine as it rises. So you open up that energy center of the root, it starts to rise higher up into the sacral, where the sacrum is, and that center is your connection to creativity. It's your creative impetus. You can become like a master painter or a master sculptor, or just have creative thoughts spontaneously. You can be a genius in that way. And one of the benefits of that is, I would say, let's say if you look at the general population, most people are thinking in terms of imitating others. Okay, I learned this from you, now I'm going to do what you do. Creativity is different. Creativity can come from not learning anything from anyone, but suddenly ideas spring up, beautiful artwork springs up without any learning. You just know, right? So that's the sacral chakra. You open up that doorway, what happens? The energy, or the kundalini, rises into the belly, or some people call it kind of the solar plexus area. And that is the location of you could say the ego or one's sense of control. So if you want to control life, then this particular chakra is kind of closed down. And you may have met people who are just like, it's hard for them to let go. They want to make sure they've got everything under control or all their ducks in a row. But, that's kind of impossible. Random things are going to happen to you. You could have earthquakes, you could have fires, you could have snow, you could have hailstorms, you never know. I mean, so life's going to present you with something different than how you want it. So, someone could be like, oh, I wanted to get here in time, but now we're late. It's like sometimes you have to surrender to that person and say, you have to be who you are. Go ahead. Rather than getting upset saying, you've got to do it my way. We've got to get there in time and hurry up. And you're whipping them, to try to get them in shape. It's not going to be a pleasant life to try to control people to get them to do exactly how you want. So you clear this, and then suddenly you're flowing with life. You're kind of going with the flow. There's a rock in your way. Oh, okay. Hi, rock. How's it going? Let me just skirt around gently and move on down the river. Instead of knocking at the rock and trying to beat it up and, using all your force to try to move it out of the way. I mean, it'd be a stressful life. And yet we know people who are wanting to control things a lot. And it's anxiety producing, isn't it? So it would be, like, I'll give you an example, like in my case. Let's say I was driving here to Lancaster, and the satsang here was going to be at 6:30, and there was heavy traffic. And I could be sitting in the car going, guys, move your cars out of the way. I need to get there at 6:30, and getting upset. Or I could say, this is the universe's plan. If I'm to be late, there must be a good reason. I'll just call Carla and have her take charge. Or whatever it is, Carla and Jerry could do some Reiki for people or something, that type of thing. Some alternate plan, because the universe isn't going to make it go the way I want it to go. And, I could be then stressed in the traffic the entire time here, and then by the time I get to the gathering, I'm like, okay, let's begin. Let's be peaceful. And, it's just not helpful. It's a matter of surrender, letting go. Especially when it comes to Mother Nature. And you're dealing with storms and earthquakes and things like that. Those things are going to happen. Where, who knows, like where my parents live. Do you know Carson City, Nevada? Anyone know Carson City? You do? It's been snowing there for quite a while now. I mean, quite a bit. And so, the whole driveway gets covered, and some of the roads get just covered in ice, and you just can't drive, so you can't leave anymore. So you could be cursing Mother Nature and saying, get out of the way, you're making me not be able to go to work or whatever. Or you could say, however you want, Mother Nature, I'm okay. I surrender. So that's a relaxed solar plexus. Surrender. It's a good word. Surrender to what is. Sweet surrender to what is. So, and I'll add one more thing. The universe's plan, or God's plan, is better than your plan. Your plan is not the correct plan. It's the universe's plan. All of this pretty much is. Maybe you can kind of influence things, but really you're kind of subject to some greater power and force that's kind of running things. So that kind of surrender, I accept, man, your life can go really smoothly and it could be really fun. Accepting any situation, no matter how difficult it is. You could have a snowstorm and then suddenly your electricity turns off, and you don't have no electricity for a week, in freezing cold weather in Lancaster, and you can't leave your house because you've been snowed in. I mean, that would be incredible if that happened in Lancaster. It almost did recently. I mean, the mountains are covered in snow. Mm-hmm. So, again, it's surrender. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to maybe try to build a fire or something. You just come up with an alternative. There's always an alternative. So, and I would say that one of the reasons why we want to control things too is because we want to be comfortable. So if it's not comfortable, I've got to make sure everything is so perfect because it's the perfect pillow, the perfect bed, the perfect temperature, everything, it just has to be just right. And again, so stressful to be in that kind of thinking if everything has to be just right. I want to go outside, it's got to be 70 degrees with a few beautiful clouds and snow-capped mountains. The perfect day. What about the other 364 days of the year? How's that going to match that perfect day? Why couldn't each day be perfect as it is, with no need or desire to change it? That is an enlightened state. It's deep. Consider. Then you really literally have no feeling about one day versus being better than another day. You know how we call the weather gloomy if it's cloudy outside? You would no longer use that term. It wouldn't even exist in your vocabulary. The gloomy day would just be just as thrilling as the beautiful sunny day at 70 degrees. Then your happiness, we'll call it a happiness bubble, expands beyond just the perfect idea of what our mind thinks it should be. So you'd be amazed at beings who have an illumined mind. They are comfortable with so many situations, even though they would be difficult and stressful for the normal person, because they've released the conditionings in the mind that say, but it could be this way, and then it would be perfect. That's the nature of the ego. Everything's good, but with the ego, there's always a but. So you release the but, and then you're enlightened. No more buts. So that's the, and then you go up to the heart chakra. So the kundalini starts to rise. Ooh, then you start to expand more, like you're kind of air-like. You turn into the air. You start to feel yourself in the room, you know? It's a wider consciousness. Not just higher, wide. And then also your heart is beaming love. You just love creation for what it is. Even, I was going to say, like a dark, smelly pit or something. I just made that up. But I mean, I was trying to think of something dark. But even that, you see the perfection in that. And you have a sort of love for everything, dark and light. It's an embracing of all creation. That would be like a kind of like a Jesus love. Jesus love is the heart of Jesus is, if you want to say this, is everywhere. So it's not this little chakra, but it's everything is in my heart. And so a natural affection for all of existence, however it is. Even wars, even poverty, hunger, homelessness, disease, even those. I mean, that's kind of sounds kind of extreme, because how could you love that? And yet, everything on this earth that's unfolding is perfect according to its karmic makeup. Everything is. There's no thing out of line. Not that you can't have compassion, because of course you have compassion to help people. It's not like you just say, oh, everything's perfect, so I'm not going to do anything. I mean, I guess you could be that, but that would be more like indifference. If this energy center is glowing, there's also a natural compulsion to help out people who are in trouble, who are hurting. But you're not saying, God, you're wrong, this shouldn't be happening. There's no thought of that. So then your consciousness can rise up into the throat chakra, and that's one part of that is your ability to speak truth. So You never tell a lie. There's no lie. Unless, of course, a lie, if the lie is good for protecting someone, then maybe you need to play a particular game in order to protect someone, to help someone out. But in general, you speak truth. The way I picture it is like flowers, just kind of a fountain of flowers coming from your mouth as you're speaking. Every word is like nectar. This chakra also represents a consciousness of knowing that there's no difference between the inside and the outside. So normally we think, oh, I'm in this body because I feel this body and I feel myself here, right? That's a usual thought. But what if you couldn't feel a difference between inside and outside? Could you say that this body is me anymore? Could you say that it's you? Impossible. You can't identify with this body as you anymore because there's no difference between outside and inside. That's a throat chakra, quite an illumined state. If you are here, if you're living in this chakra, you are, living beyond normal human experience. Because pretty much normal humans are always living inside a body. There's so much identification there. Here, breaks, and there's a merging. Outside and inside become one. Then your consciousness can then rise into the third eye, and this is spiritual consciousness. So you know everything is spirit, meaning it's not walls, it's not salt, it's not a yoga mat, it's not a harmonium, it's not a person, it's just one pervading spirit. You literally see it that way. Not that you don't function, because you certainly function well in the world, but your consciousness sees everything as one spirit. Very hard to explain unless a person is in that state. So there's not really a lot of point of talking too much about it until you're there. And then finally, the kundalini can rise to the crown. And that center is, some people call it as God consciousness or self-realization. A realization of the true self. Everything is me, there is only the one. Or one could say there is only God, no other. And I am that. And the way many pictures of saints show that is through the halo. So you've seen the halos. That's awakening of the crown chakra, of knowing that everything is God. Each person can reach there. Every person. There's no exception. Everyone can. Even people who are psychotic killers or whatever, the people who have no ethics even, they still have a soul. It may not occur for them in this lifetime, but at some point, something may touch that person's heart where they have feelings again. And they're like, oh, gosh, maybe I should be kind to my neighbor. And that's a start. That's the start of your path. You just want to be kind to others. That's like the foundation. Then things can start to open up and you can feel expanded states of consciousness. Before that, maybe we're thinking always, I've got to protect myself, I've got to get things for myself, like greed consciousness, you know what I mean? How much can I get for myself? And I would call that as ignorance, because we think that our self is here, but it's not here. You're myself, you're myself, you're myself, you're myself. So if I give something to you, if I share something with you, I'm sharing it with my own self. So there's no loss. You can't lose. Each time I act on greed, I become more condensed, more of I'm Brian. You're you. I need as much as I can. Therefore, I'm going to take more from you so I can be more comfortable. But I don't care about you. You know, that type of, which is an attitude, but it's actually surprisingly common. You know, the person who's starting to think in terms of other people, they be driving on the freeway and they're actually allowing people in instead of trying to hurry up to try to cut them off so they can't get ahead. What's the hurry? Where are we trying to get to? I once saw this commercial. It was a really amazing commercial about a woman. She was giving birth and the doctors were like ready to take the baby as it was going to pop out. Suddenly the baby pops out and it's like a missile and the baby starts shooting across, into the air and across the sky. It's like a rocket, and it's like it's getting older and older and older and older as it's passing through the air, and then finally it hits the ground and it's like old age and it enters into a coffin. It's dead.
Wow.
Which in a way it's like it really struck me as true. That's life. A rocket chipped, and then you're in the ground and that's dead. So it's like, what's the point of coming here? Is it really just to scramble to get something and to milk this world for all I can get? Or is it to feel something bigger, more profound, more beautiful, sublime? This center is sublime love. It's a love that's so profound that it brings you to tears just looking at a little baby flower in a meadow, or a grasshopper gliding through the air. Just strikes you to the core, and there's no reason. It's just because everything seems beautiful to you now. What a transformation in consciousness, right? So there's a lot to learn from so-called rising in consciousness. We could do a chakra clearing to awaken the different energy centers and see what you can feel through that. It's actually really, really easy. You can visualize your kundalini as light. Kundalini is your sense of I. The I, when you say I am something, that I, that the kundalini is the I. So if that energy, the kundalini, is down at the bottom of the spine, your I is located in the body. It's earthbound. If your kundalini is located here, then your I is universal. So when you're saying I as an enlightened being, really what you're saying, it's coming from the universe. So that's why I lit a candle for Swami Purna, because he's kind of living in that consciousness of I being the universe. So he's a universal being. So whenever something is spoken through him, it's not human. It's a cosmic intelligence that comes through him. Therefore, learning from such a being is extraordinary in terms of one's transformation, one's connection to that cosmic energy, which he emits, if you want to say it that way. Not that you aren't that already, but the question is, have you awoken to knowing yourself to be the cosmic being? That's kind of rare. And one of the reasons why it's rare, well, because you have to work hard to clear your chakras. You have to work hard to clear your karmas. You have to change your whole life. Think totally differently. Do things quite different. I mean, everything changes. So, and generally we're in a comfort bubble and we want to stay there because it's easy. Simple things like, let's say you put your booties on with your right foot first, and then your left foot. Well, today I'm going to put my booties on my left foot first, and then my right foot. That's a good example. I mean, it sounds so simple, but you're changing your subconscious mind that's constantly doing the same thing every day, trying to shift that out of the normal identification of this kind of person. That's tough. So we definitely want to stay comfortable. Call it a Goldilocks zone. It's nice and comfortable. So here's what we can do. Let's try a breath first. And this time, let's breathe into the root chakra to start. So we'll take in 11 deep breaths, in and out through the nose, slowly. And with each breath, imagine your root, the very bottom of your spine, that center, lighting up, getting brighter and brighter and brighter with each breath. So let's try it. Breathing the light into that chakra. And release. Breathing in the light. And we release. Inhale pure light into the root. And let go. Deep breath in. And release. Breathing pure light into the root chakra. And breathing out. Inhale. Exhale. Breathing in. And breathing out. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Breathing healing light into the root chakra. And breathing out. Inhale. Exhale. One last deep breath in. And we release. And we relax. And notice the energy in the root, the very bottom of the spine. And your divine spark at the root is ignited, illuminated. Try to feel it awakening. imagine it as the pure light, pure white light. And it is clearing that energy center. Totally purifying the Muladhara chakra. Imagine that divine spark rising up the spine into the sacrum, the sacral chakra. And it now purifies that energy center. Fills that energy center with light. Then the divine spark rises further up the spine into the solar plexus chakra. And that energy center is clearing, opening, awakening. And then that divine spark in the solar plexus rises up the spine into the heart center. And the Anahat chakra begins to clear. Filled with the light. And then the divine spark rises up the spine into the throat chakra. as it enters, that center is filled with light. The divine spark now rises up higher into the third eye between the eyebrows. And clears that energy center. Now that divine spark moves up into the crown at the top of the head, the Sahasrara chakra. Illuminates that energy center. Just visualize your crown opening and your consciousness as light exits out the top of the head and spreads into the room, into the nighttime sky. Expanding infinitely through the entire universe. One boundless light. This one light is the essence of all of existence. You are that light. chant the mantras, but know I am infinite consciousness. So the body chants the mantras, but I am infinite. just set our intention to dive deep into the presence of the mantras. Imagine your whole body and the entire room is sparkling with the energy of the mantras. Even the salt is filled with sparkles, blessed by the energy of the mantras. So there are really only there's two sides of rising in consciousness. One is clearing one's darkness and negativity and ignorance, and the other is tuning to the energy. Just that, two things. It's actually quite simple. In a way, I don't want to say it's easy, but if you know those two steps, there's no problem. You can keep ascending each day. I mean, I would say probably the biggest skill is just being aware of your mind and your judgments, your opinions, your emotions. Just being aware of your feelings. And then just working on softening them day by day. It's really not that hard, actually. I mean, some situations are really tough. You know, if someone keeps poking you and poking you and poking you, you know, you can get really impatient and angry. I mean, I get that. But even then, consider the real difficult sorts of situations as your bigger test to get you to the next level. Because the universe is saying, okay, you know, she's done a good job so far. She's become more peaceful, more loving. Okay, we're going to put her into a tougher circumstance this time and see how she does. Right? Because the universe wants you to take you to the next level. But really, oftentimes, if you want to, if you're asking for it, if you're asking the universe, please help me to ascend in consciousness, the universe will listen to you and say, okay, I'll put you into a difficult situation, let me help you. But if you don't really care, well, then you're in a rut, you're stuck. Because there's always more room to expand. You got the entire universe and beyond to expand. As Buzz Lightyear said, to infinity and beyond. You know, the beyond. I'll tell you something that's so fascinating I heard Swami Purna once say. He said, once you reach liberation, liberation meaning freedom, moksha, freedom from your ego, freedom from ego consciousness, when you feel expanded and infinite, right? We would consider it as the highest stage of consciousness. He said that's just the beginning. You're talking about a cosmic being, so he's talking on another level, but that's just the beginning.
Is he still with us?
Oh, he is.
Yes,
Yes. He does retreats in Pennsylvania once a year, usually, like in June, and then once a year in India, in Rishikesh. I usually go out of my way to go to those because they're extraordinary in terms of the energy. So what he said was, okay, now that you're so-called enlightened, there's still all these aspects of your being that you can expand on. And you know what that means? Helping others. Because you're part of me. You're a part of me. You're a part of me. You're a part of me. You have an endless job to do of transforming your consciousness now as everyone, not just you. Do you see what I'm saying here? You become a cosmic being where these are all cells in your body. And so therefore, God sends down a ray of light called an avatar or a master or a savior or a messiah and says, okay, I'm here. Would you like to hold my hand? Ironically, most people run as fast as they can away from that hand. That's the irony. Or hang that person because they sound blasphemous or out of the ordinary or breaking the control of the people who are in charge. Happens all the time. Did I tell you the story of I think it was Bolasah, I think it was his name. Anyway, it was a Middle Eastern great master, great enlightened being, long ago in the Middle East. And he once said in that society, one who knows God is not less than God. Think about that statement. One who knows God is not less than God. When people heard that, they demanded that he be stoned to death. That was blasphemous in that particular society. I think it was a Muslim society at that time.
It reminds me of George Harrison's song, I Really Want to Know You.
Yeah.
Song.
Yeah, merging. I want to know you. I want to merge with you. Here he's saying something that, I don't want to put down religions, but I will say that a religion can become dogmatic, in which they say this is the way it is and this is what you should believe, and if you don't, then that's blasphemous. Off with your head. I'm not kind of joking with that part, but that's not necessarily off your head, but we don't even want to associate you if you don't believe what we believe, because we're not alike now. Look, spirituality is about bringing people together to feel sameness, unity, not my religion, your religion. If you want to say anything, say there's only one religion. Religion means remember. Remember who you are, your true self. So the master says, one who knows God is not less than God. So they put him in front of a wall, and each person in that town had to throw a stone at him. A stone because of his blasphemy. And so each person got in line, the whole town, hundreds of people, one by one, throwing a stone at the guy. And he's being pelted and bleeding, and he's laughing the entire time. A godlike being is beyond body consciousness. So, some people say, well, Jesus Christ was hurting on the cross. Easily, he could kind of just slip beyond body consciousness, and then there's no problems there. But there's a certain opinion of, oh, well, he must have hurt or something. Enlightened beings, they're beyond physical hurt. They can choose to be hurt too, and to feel the pain if they want. Maybe he did that, but enlightened beings can just ascend a little bit higher until you don't even feel the body. It's gone. You don't even recognize you have a body, you know? You're gone. So here he is, being pelted by stones, one by one, smashed. This great master. Then his main disciple, his closest disciple, picks up a flower and throws the flower at his master. And the flower strikes his master, and that's when he began to cry. He cried. And people, one person went up and said, all these stones hit you. You're bleeding. And you were laughing the whole time. And now a flower strikes you and you cry. Why? And he says, all these people are ignorant. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know me. They don't know what truth is. They're ignorant. But this man, he knows me. He knows. And yet still, out of fear, he felt obligated to throw something, to throw the flower. So in one way, he was crying over the disciple, because the poor disciple was acting out of fear. The enlightened being has no fear, is beyond fear. No such thing. Fear means body consciousness. I'm scared of dying. There's no fear of death here. Because an illumined being, if an illumined being is in the salt and as I was saying, in the harmonium and the yoga mat, if a body gets hurt, I'm not getting hurt. I'm everywhere. Where is there to be hurt? See, it's such a completely different paradigm shift from being such a tiny speck on earth trying to get by with a job and a life and so on and so forth. How many times have we lived this life, done the same thing over and over and over again? When is the time that we are going to break out of this consciousness and find the truth of the universe? When? People think, oh, you're so philosophical. This is not philosophy. This is real and possible. And as I said, those beings that do descend onto earth as rays of God, reaching out their hand, and hardly anyone is grabbing the hand. But there are some that are desperate and praying, please help me. So, the story of the elephant, Gajendra, he lives on a paradise island, kind of a heaven-like island. Not this particular planet, but he's living on another planet. This is a true story. I mean, you can believe it or not, but huge elephant, and he's walking through this huge jungle, and all the animals scattered. He's like the king of the forest, huge. And all his family, wives and uncles and aunts and children are all following him through the forest, and he's getting really thirsty. So now he's running, searching for water. And then he breaks through the forest, enters into this white beach. You could call it a pink beach if you want. And there's a lake covered with pink lotus flower dust, the pollen. And he runs to the water, and he jumps in, and he starts drinking the water, trying to fill his thirst. And he gets so caught in drinking the water, he doesn't realize there's a crocodile down below that grabs his leg and starts to pull him down with his teeth. Pulling and pulling. And Gajendra's, oh, what's happening? And then there's this fight between the two of them. And Gajendra is the most powerful animal on land. But who do you think is the most powerful in the water? The crocodile, whose name is Maya. Maya is the name for this illusion, the illusion of the mind. The ignorance that we have. That's the crocodile. The crocodile is pulling Gajendra, the mightiest of mighty, down in the water, and they're fighting for 1,000 years. And meanwhile, the all the family of elephants, they can't do anything. They can't save, there's no way. They can't save Gajendra. They're watching helplessly. Finally, Gajendra is growing weak. And he realizes to himself, I'm dying. This is the end of my life. I'm dying. My family can't even help me. This is the end. And then he thinks to himself, who can help me? And he remembered something from a past life, a prayer to his God, whose name is Narayan. Oh Narayan, oh Govinda, oh Narayan, please save me. He thinks, he remembers this prayer. It just kind of arose inside him. And he thinks, oh, but if I'm going to call my God, I have to find some offering to give him. And he looks around and he sees a little pink lotus flower floating by. With his trunk, he picks up the lotus flower and holds it to the sky. He says, oh my Govind, oh my Lord, please help me. This is the end. You're the only one who can save me. And then Narayan, who's in heaven with Lakshmi, they're in the heavenly realms, celestial realms, immediately hears him, hears the calling of his heart, and rushes down to earth, millions of miles to reach earth. He sees the crocodile and the Gajendra, the elephant, and he throws his chakra, it's his weapon, it's a spinning disc, at the crocodile, cuts the crocodile, and takes the lotus flower from the trunk of his devotee, Gajendra, and then pulls Gajendra out of the water to safety. And in that moment that they touched, his God touched the elephant was illuminated with supreme knowledge, became free, knew the absolute truth of reality in that moment, just by a touch. And so the reason that happened to Gajendra is because his heart was singing. He didn't want anything else but God. It was the only thing he wanted. Nothing else in life mattered, not his past, not his future, nothing else. It was just focused on that. And when you're like that and you're singing, help comes and pulls you out of the maya of your own mind, frees you. So how many are calling like that, right? Look at the world and how people are functioning and chasing after this and that and trying to get this and that. The whole world is after something. Very few are crying over God. Very few. That's why there are not many liberated people, beings. Who wants it? So I treasure if someone comes to a gathering like this, a like-minded person who's really in search for something deeper rather than the superficial world. Everyone gets the superficial world. Everyone gets food. Everyone gets sleep. Everyone gets sex. And everyone gets fear. Those are all for the animals. Aren't we beyond animals? Can't we go beyond the animal? We're here to break out of animal instinct. That can't be just it. You can do those 4 things as much as you want, but it's still not going to get you. You're still going to be revolving, lifetime after lifetime, the same circle we were just talking about, repeating the same kind of life. Really? Is that it? So he mentioned that there were 10 minutes, so I should pay attention to the time. So I'm going to conclude, although I could speak to you a lot more about these things. These final mantras, you can kind of just listen to, bask in the energy. The mantras are in honor of the Sadguru, who really blesses this gathering. It's the reason why I'm here. He was the one who originally asked me to renounce my old life and set out on the road. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have done it. I just wouldn't have. It would have been too scary. I wouldn't have had that kind of confidence. Nor would I have even thought I was like spiritual enough to even share spiritual gatherings. But after the very first one, that after he recommended doing them, I mean the energy was just sparkling. I just said, wow, this works. This is beautiful. I love this. Everyone should be coming. So that was my thought. So I'm here even though it's 11 years later and still holding gatherings. It's a long time. So in honor of the Sadguru, you can just listen. From untruth to truth. Lead us from darkness to light. And lead us from death to immortality. This is whole. That is whole. From wholeness comes the whole. When we take away the whole from the whole still remains whole. The essence of that mantra: you were never born, and you will never die. You are the supreme consciousness everywhere and everything, all that is, all time, all space. There is nothing but you. There is only God. And the energy of that mantra helps us to realize that truth. It awakens that knowing, that understanding, that realization. Placing our hands in prayer position in front of our heart, we'll chant together the mantra Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, sending peace to all beings in this world. And whoever comes to Heat and Halo, may they be blessed with this energy. Whoever walks in, may they feel it, be connected. Namaste.
Namaste.